This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch for Friday, April 23rd, 2021. I am Charlene Aaron. Today, destroying the chance that their enemy could build a nuclear weapon, what we're learning from a former Israeli general. The D.C. Statehood Bill passing one hurdle, what's likely to happen next in the Senate. Taking on cancel culture to reach today's students, the plan of action a former governor is taking. And new rules coming to the NFL, what players and fans can expect to see happen next season. Those stories and more today on NewsWatch. Well, for nearly 20 years, Israeli leaders have been trying to destroy Iran's capability to build a nuclear bomb. Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us live to explain how this threat could be neutralized. Chris, first of all, what did a former Israeli general say about mitigating this threat?
Well, Charlene, we had an exclusive interview with retired General Amos Yadlin. He's probably the only person in the world that's been actually participating in destroying two nuclear sites. He was a pilot, and in 1981, he'd helped destroy Saddam Hussein's nuclear reactor. He was the chief of military intelligence in 2007 to destroy Syria's nuclear reactor. And he says he's got 5 ways he believes he can stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. First of all, stronger diplomatic agreement, much stronger than the 2015 JCPOA, the one that right now they're renegotiating in Vienna. Number 2, sanctions or other ways that Iran would actually pay a heavy price for its nuclear program. Then the third thing, and we've seen some of this evidence recently, cyber covert operations or clandestine operations to attack Iran's nuclear facility. And then finally, he says, number 4 would be a military action, just like in 1981 or 2007, to really directly strike Iran's nuclear facilities. It's very difficult because right now, because of those 2 strikes in 81 and 2007, Iran has spread out its nuclear program throughout the country. Finally, he says a regime change would be the ideal because he wants Israelis to go to sleep knowing that there's not a regime that wants to destroy Israel.
Well, Chris, how does the change in U.S. administrations impact Iran's threat against Israel?
Well, what he says, Charlene, is actually Iran has lost its fear of the United States. They were afraid of the Trump administration that implemented, what's called the maximum pressure. They see the weakness in the Biden administration. They also see the Biden administration being too eager to get into the nuclear deal. And finally, there's a different perception in Israel and the U.S. And right here in Israel, they know that Iran presents an existential threat to the Jewish state. The U.S. doesn't feel that quite so much.
Well, Chris, what's on Jerusalem Dateline?
Well, Jerusalem Dateline, we're going to have that interview with General Amos Yadlin. We also have a really unique story of what's happened in the 2003 Iraqi war. They discovered some, very valuable Jewish archives. Right now, it's in the U.S. There's a possibility they could go back. It's a very important story. And finally, we have a story about counting the Omer. And actually, that's a biblical prescription from Passover all the way to Pentecost, what the Bible says we should be doing. Many Jews around the world are doing just that. It's a very unique story. We'll have that as well on this week's Jerusalem Dateline.
All sounds very interesting. Chris Mitchell, thank you so much. And you can see more news from the Middle East with Chris and his team on this station or on the CBN News Channel tonight at 8:30 Eastern. Well, the D.C. Statehood Bill is now on its way to the Senate after it passed the House Thursday on a party line vote. This is the second time that the measure has passed the House, but even with Democrats now having a slight edge in the Senate, it faces an uphill battle there. Our CBN News Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson brings us more.
If signed into law, H.R. 51 would add 2 Senate seats that would highly likely be Democrats, leading Republicans to argue this is a power grab by the majority party. But House Democrats passed the bill despite their objections.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
Democrats say it's all about giving representation to 700,000 residents who live in D.C.
The truth is, there is no good faith argument for disenfranchising over 700,000 people, most of whom are people of color. These desperate objections are about fear.
And they described the bill, which passed 216 to 208, as pivotal to their voting rights platform and a way to restore equal citizenship. Republicans counter, calling the D.C. Admission Act an unconstitutional power grab.
The only reason the Democrats are doing it is trying to get more electoral votes and more senators.
CBN's David Brody discussed the bill with the top House Republican, California Congressman Kevin McCarthy.
And why they're doing it when they are, because they know they're going to lose the majority. It was never created or should be a state. If there's anything it should do, it should go back to Maryland from that standpoint, if they want to be within a state, but it's unconstitutional.
Under current rules, the bill needs 60 votes to break a filibuster in the Senate.
The Joe Biden presidency is not problem solving thus far. It's the biggest power grab in my lifetime.
President Joe Biden supports the bill, but GOP senators are questioning where the president, who campaigned on uniting the country and working together, is hiding.
The crazies who are running the ship. And so I'd like to see the Joe Biden we served with escape from the basement and come out and say, all right, we're not going to break the system.
Even if Senate Democrats do away with the legislative filibuster, it's not clear they have enough support to pass D.C. statehood. And other progressive priorities like court packing don't seem likely to pass the Senate either. Reporting from Virginia, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Relatives and friends of Andrew Brown Jr. took to the streets to march following his death at the hands of a deputy. The 42-year-old man was from Elizabeth City, North Carolina. He was shot to death on Wednesday by a local deputy sheriff who was trying to serve a search warrant. The shooting prompted protests and demands for accountability. North Carolina's State Bureau of Investigation says they will turn over its findings to District Attorney Andrew Womble. Womble says he is looking for accurate, not fast answers. Well, Capitol Hill is grappling with policing and how to respond to mental health crisis calls. The debate comes amid growing outrage over another deadly police shooting involving a 16-year-old girl. CBN News national security correspondent Caitlin Burke has more.
That 16-year-old's name was Micaiah Bryant. She was killed Tuesday by a police officer responding to 911 calls about an attempted stabbing.
These grown girls over here trying to fight us, trying to stab us, trying to put her hands on our grandma. Get here now. We need a police officer here now.
Columbus police released body camera video.
Hey! Get down! Get down! Get down! Get down!
Wake up, ma'am. Come on, stay with us. Stay with us.
An independent investigation is now underway, in part to determine whether deadly force was justified.
Regardless of the circumstances associated with this, a 16-year-old girl lost her life.
As Micaiah's family mourns her death, in Minneapolis, the city turns its attention from the Derek Chauvin guilty verdict to burying Dante Wright, a 20-year-old shot and killed during a traffic stop by a police officer who says she meant to use her taser. The U.S. Attorney General announced a sweeping investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department.
The investigation I am announcing today will assess whether the Minneapolis Police Department engages in a pattern or practice of using excessive force, including during protests.
Meanwhile, Congress is considering police reform on a national scale. The Senate Judiciary Committee hearing testimony specifically about how best to respond to those in the middle of a mental health crisis. Witnesses agreeing that ultimately there needs to be coordination between law enforcement and behavioral health professionals.
These calls can be time-consuming, which is often at odds with the demands of the 911 system and the expectations communities have for timely police response to crime and disorder.
And when mobile response programs engage a person, they then can divert a person from more restrictive settings, like law enforcement or emergency departments. They can divert people to linkages with outpatient services and things like that.
President Biden is pressing Congress to pass police reform legislation. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act passed the House in March. It has not yet received a vote in the Senate. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Now to the southern border and the crisis that continues to unfold. Arizona's governor has now deployed the National Guard and declared a state of emergency in multiple counties. Governor Doug Ducey is also calling on President Biden to declare this a national emergency. Meanwhile, Vice President Harris met with some of the largest charitable groups in the country yesterday for ways to stem the tide of migrants. CBN senior national affairs correspondent Heather Sells is following the developments.
The number of unaccompanied children at the border hit a historic high of 18,000 last month. As of last week, more than 22,000 migrant children were in U.S. government custody. The Biden administration is highlighting the work of the vice president. Her focus addressed the root causes, the reasons that children and adults flee in the first place.
We have to give people a sense of hope. A sense of hope that help is on the way.
Ministries on the border are helping to meet the needs of immigrants right when they cross, from Brownsville, Texas to El Paso.
We want to make sure that immediately they contact their families so that they can make those travel arrangements. In the meantime, they will get a chance to eat, to take a shower, change clothing.
Many faith groups also see the need to focus on the forces behind the surge.
This isn't just about this instance on the border. It's part of a bigger picture. What's driving people? Why are people in so much desperation that they're willing to have their kids cross alone?
Heather Sells, CBN News.
President Joe Biden is celebrating a new milestone. 200 million doses have been given out since he took office. More than 40% of the adult U.S. population has received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. According to the CDC, the country is averaging around 3 million shots a day. Experts say the challenge is making the vaccines more accessible in local pharmacies and rural communities where Americans may have to travel far for health care. And vaccine hesitancy is also an issue. Recent polls show a wider resistance to take the vaccine among conservatives, with Wyoming having the most vaccine hesitancy nationwide. Coming up, how a former governor is taking on the growing cancel culture effort to reach today's students.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel. Now available at cbnradio.com.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Superbook fans, here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, movies and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
A Newsburg Falls man coming.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
From Washington, D.C., uncompromising stories, interviews, and analysis from veteran journalists David Brody.
It's a 50-50 deadlock pretty much in the Senate.
Jenna Browder.
Meanwhile, doctors believe the newly discovered California variant is behind a massive wave of new cases.
Ben Kennedy.
He is sworn in as the 46th president.
Bringing you the political news that matters.
We're people who are committed to protecting the most weakest and the most vulnerable.
Watch Faith Nation, weeknights at 6.
Former Governor Scott Walker has a history of swimming upstream, politically speaking. First as a conservative in Wisconsin, and now he's taking on the growing cancel culture effort to reach students today. Paul Strand explains Walker's game plan to help bring back love for American liberty.
Many in the left, through this radical indoctrination, try to teach our young people to hate America.
Scott Walker warns parents and others in this Young America's Foundation video.
America is under siege. We see it on our campuses and in our culture.
That's why the former governor was anxious to lead this group, backed long ago by the likes of William F. Buckley and Ronald Reagan.
I felt now more than ever we needed to win not just the battle of the day, but the war for the heart and soul of this great republic.
With a dedication to individual liberties, free enterprise, and traditional values, the foundation has what Walker calls a long game to defeat attempts to turn America's young against their country.
You see this with the 1619 Project. You see this with a lot of the Marxist attitudes and others. They're pitting one group of Americans versus the other, and they're telling our young people that there's something fundamentally wrong with America.
How can people and organizations pushing Marxist ideas be winning in the land of the free? By controlling what people can hear and even what they can say.
This total cancel culture, this lack of free speech and the ability for speak out and express their opinions.
It even includes an element of pushing vulnerable kids to question and dislike themselves.
You can't just disagree and debate the issues, that if someone doesn't fully agree with their leftist dogma, that they're racist or sexist or transphobic or whatever the word might be, that there's no respect for people who have differing viewpoints.
Walker points to studies showing how some 80% of the students who don't agree still feel compelled to speak in favor of the far left.
If they don't buy into the radical dogma, they'll be written up, it'll be in the permanent record. You see this time and time and time again.
Numbers, however, show that young victims of propaganda can be turned. For instance, a Young America's Foundation poll shows 69% of students would back a $15 minimum wage. After they learn it would kill 1.4 million jobs, that support drops to 52%.
When we start to tell them a conservative point of view that makes them understand the things they're hearing, in many cases, aren't fair, they're not right, they're not just, they tend to gravitate more towards our point of view, which is exactly why the left wants to cancel out any conservative thought and discussion in the first place.
Here's the foundation's long game strategy. Get their group active on all of America's 4,000-plus college campuses. Expand their conservative influence into middle schools as well as high schools. Sponsor 1 million students to attend YAF programs. And create a network for conservative professors and teachers. Walker's group is also fighting schools that attempt to censor conservatives, as it recently took UC Berkeley to court.
They claim they're for free speech, but we had conservative students there we were working with, trying to bring in some conservative speakers. They put up a barrier that said you couldn't have the event after 3. You couldn't advertise. The security costs were 3 times what they charged left-leaning groups to bring in a U.S. Supreme Court justice.
YAF won in court.
If we can win at UC Berkeley, we can win anywhere in America, and we will. The Constitution's on our side, and we're going to invoke it every state, every campus, every place we need to.
Walker knows it's often hard to get conservatives deeply involved with battles over politics and power.
We're not consumed with government. We're not consumed with power. We live our own lives.
But they need to be fighting back.
Reset.
if we want to be able to support and pass on to our children, our family, the kind of America we inherited from our parents and grandparents, we have to do more.
Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Still ahead, new rules coming to the NFL. Our sports director, Sean Brown, breaks it all down for us next.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears. Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com to get your copy today.
NFL owners approved a series of new rules this week for the 2021 season, including one that will expand the influence of replay officials. CBN Sports Director Sean Brown explains these new rules. Sean, the owners gave existing replay officials the authority to consult with referees on certain aspects of the game. Why is this a big deal?
Good morning, Charlene. Yeah, it's a big deal because of all the controversial calls. Is it a catch? Did they is it a first down? Did they cross the goal line? Are they down by contact? It's a great idea because now the replay officials, they can see what the fans see. And so when you're an official on the field, your eyes just don't see everything. And so now with the new authority given to the replay officials, they can advise officials and the referees on the field to say, hey, this is what we saw, and then they can consider whether or not to reverse the call or not. But also they can advise coaches in the area of, hey, this is what you're dealing with. Do you want to challenge or not, and so forth. And so it's a big deal. We'll see if it works.
Okay. And what other rules will come into play next season?
There's a lot, but to me, that's the first one. The second one that's big for me is the onside kick. Initially, the point of onside kick is so that the team that has the ball that's kicking to the receiving team can get possession of the ball. If you're down and you need the ball back, that's the go-to play. But they haven't been able to do it. And so now what the owners have done is they've said, all right, well, the receiving team can now only have 9 players in the setup box, which reduces the amount of people for the receiving team to be able to get the ball. And somewhat gives the advantage to the kicking team so that they can get the ball back and try to score to catch up. Makes the game more exciting.
Okay.
We'll have to see. It's an experiment, so we'll have to see how it works.
Sounds good. And what can you tell us about what's going on with going the distance this weekend?
Well, going the distance, we've got Aeneas Williams, Hall of Fame corner, talking about his ideas on police reform and building relationships between the police and the community. My colleague Tom Beering did a great interview with him. Also, we've got Jessica Long, Paralympic swimmer. You may remember the commercial from the Super Bowl where they kind of shared her story being adopted from an American family from Siberia. She's from Siberia, and an American family adopted her. And she's done great things. And so it was a powerful Toyota commercial during the Super Bowl. And so my man Will Dawson did a great story with her. So those will be airing, and just great stories.
Sounds great, Sean. Sean Brown, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Charlie.
All right. And you can catch Going the Distance with Sean Brown this weekend on the CBN News Channel, Saturday at 6:30 and Sunday at 7:30, both Eastern times. We'll be right back after the break.
Your cat gets bored. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Wednesday at 3 on the CBN News Channel. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Well, that's it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more of our news coverage on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen by emailing newswatch@cbn.com or talk to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day, everybody.